Many years ago, I was getting in my bed at night, kind of brushed my teeth, pajamas on, walking towards my bed, and I looked down on the floor, and I saw something that looked like this, okay? It was about this size. This is a fake one, okay? But it was about this big, and I looked down and I saw it, and of course I was about to step on it, and right when I was going to, it ran under my bed. Okay, now underneath my bed is a little bit messy because a lot of times when I would clean my room, I'm an adult, okay, at this time, but when I clean my room, I just kind of shove stuff under the bed. Does anybody else do that? Some people look, she's like, no, I clean. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, so I shoved everything. So I couldn't see the spider. I was like, oh man, it got away. And so I laid down in bed to go to sleep, turn out the lights and everything, and I'm laying there. And you know how you can like feel stuff on your body that's not on your body? Okay, I kept feeling this thing, and then I started thinking about this article I read one time about how your average person swallows 8 spiders in their lifetime. Like apparently you're supposed to be laying in bed at night. I don't know if you're letting me up. Like drool coming out, okay, and breathing through your mouth, and like a spider's like, oh, it's warm, huh? And you're like, oh, and all this while you're sleeping. Actually, I think that's not true, but it was in my mind. Okay, I was imagining it going in my nose while I was sleeping. All these kind of things, and so eventually I'm like, I can't sleep. It had been like over an hour, okay, and I just could not sleep, and I kept feeling it, even though when just like, have you ever felt your cell phone vibrate? And it wasn't even in your pocket, you're like, there's nothing there. That is so, okay, yeah, so I've done that. And so I just, driving me crazy. So finally, I get all of the sheets, all the comforters off my bed, I throw them in the living room. I take the queen-size mattress off the thing, I take the box spring off, and I start going through everything until I find the little spider, and I destroyed him, all right? I mean, I squished and turned and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there is no other way that a spider should be but dead, okay? I know some people keep them as pets. Okay, they better hope that pets don't go to heaven, all right? Because they're going to get there, God's going to be like, here's your tarantula, all right? And so, no, but like I destroyed it because it was going to keep me from sleeping unless I did. Now, last week we started talking about how to have joy in your life, okay? We're talking about how to have true joy in your life. And here's the thing. There is some things that will, just like that spider stole my sleep until I got rid of it, that will steal your joy until you get rid of them. Because you are meant to have joy. God has designed it so that those who love him and serve him will have joy. And so you are meant to have joy. And if you do not, there may be some things that are stealing it. So tonight we're going to talk about one big one. Okay, this is a big thing that will steal your joy if you don't get rid of it. And that little thing is anger. Anybody use this emoji? You know, yeah, anybody use this emoji? Okay. Yeah, you're like, I use that one all the time. I usually use it as a joke, like, I'm mad, okay? I don't like actually send mad texts to people very often, but yeah, I don't know if you use the anger, the mad, or whatever you call it, emoji, but I've definitely been mad, okay? But here's the thing about anger, okay? And you like this about anger. It's not your fault, is it? The reason you're mad is because they're dumb. Right? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I wouldn't have to be mad if they weren't a jerk. I wouldn't have to be mad if they would be just a little bit considerate. If I didn't have a stupid sister, a pesky brother, right? A terrible teacher, right? I was supposed to say, that didn't right? Pesky parent. Yeah, okay. A brat brother. That would work, okay? I'm supposed to have, like, what is going on with this? Like, how am I? If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be mad. Okay, they're the problem. They're the reason I am angry. In fact, here's the thing about anger and being mad. You don't even have to be mad at a thing. I mean, it's something that has, like, intelligence. I was talking to one person, this girl, she came in here one time and her phone was just shattered. I was like, what happened to your phone? I mean, it was destroyed. She goes, I got mad at it. And I was like, and I threw it. I was like, all right. Well, have you ever been mad at something? Like I went to a friend's house and he had his PlayStation controllers. All of them were cracked or like broken in some way. I was like, what happened? He goes, I throw them sometimes. Like he's playing a game. Okay, it's like a game, all right? And he's throwing stuff. He's so mad at this thing. Okay, but there are maybe all kinds of different things that will make you mad. Okay, and I get that. I mean, you've been mad at the weather. Stupid rain. Okay, you've been mad at the weather before. But the thing that'll make you the most mad, that bring you the most anger, is other people, right? There is maybe even somebody in your house that just eating makes you mad. They eat wrong. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you stop breathing. Like your breathing is annoying me right now, okay? And there's some people that just their sight, just to look at them, and all of a sudden, the reason this is red, have you ever been so mad at somebody like your face felt hot? You know what I'm talking about? And so you just, okay, and so you started to feel this anger. And as we're going to discover over tonight, is that anger will steal your joy. It's very difficult. In fact, I don't think you can be angry and happy at the same time. And so I want to talk about that. Now, there is 3 different ways that people deal with anger. 1 good one and 2 bad ones. And the 2 bad ones are what's natural for all of us, okay? One of them, and some of you maybe both, but let me just tell you what the natural ways we deal with anger. Here's one. You might be the spewer, I like to call it. You explode, okay? So let me give you an example. When I was little, I discovered it was very easy to annoy my sister. Anybody who has brothers and sisters? Brothers and sisters or brother? Okay. So if you did not raise your hand and you are an only child, you will not understand. But it is very easy to make your brother or your sister mad. You don't even have to hardly do anything. And it is one of the great pleasures. And but you do this, right? And so when I was little, I remember I was pretty young. And one day I did this. And it made my sister mad for some reason. She's like, stop doing that. It's annoying. Stop doing it. So what did I do? I did it as much as I was like, and so she started going like that. Okay, she would just walk up to me and just go and do that. So I was like, and she'd do it again. So I got an idea. I went in the kitchen. I got a glass of water. And I went, and I just walked right up to her face and go, and she goes, and I just spewed it all over. Okay, now this made me very happy, okay? I was like, but this made her like this, and then she started chasing me around the house, okay? And she was she was doing the exploding, right? I kind of spewed. It was my fault. I'll give it all that. But that was her natural way. My natural thing is not spewing, okay? Well, other than the water on my sister, okay? I don't tend to explode when I get angry. I do the other thing. I stew her, okay? I just take it all in, okay? I steam on it a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? Now, if this is you, you probably do things like this. You lay down at night and you have imaginary conversations with the person. Like they've done something and you are telling them off like so good. You're like, and then you're going, this is why you're doing it right. And you have every argument they throw at you in your bed. You're like, oh, I got a better one, all right? And you just do it. And when I'm imagining, there's always like people around and they're like going, ooh, burn, okay? And I'm destroying them in this little imagine. And then when I'm done, they're like crying and saying, I'm sorry, and I just walk off, okay? And this is what the stewers do. We keep it inside. Now, who would say you're like the stewer? Anybody stewers? Okay. Who's a spewer? Like you like to slam doors? Yeah. Okay. Who's kind of both? All right. You're like, I stew until I blow up. Okay. Yeah, I understand. The truth is, all of us naturally do some of this a little bit. If you're this one, you tend to maybe you yell, maybe you slam doors, maybe you cuss, maybe there's different things that come out. If you're this one, you stay up at night thinking about things, and you probably tell other people about what they did, but you didn't really get in their face about it, and you kind of just okay, and you got all that. So this is kind of our natural ways of doing things. But here's the deal. When emotions take control, things get out of control. And when anger is the emotion that starts to take hold of you and is in control, your life gets out of control very quickly. And you begin to do things and say things and experience things that you never would have done and wouldn't have done and hurt people and all kinds of stuff. In fact, have you ever heard this saying, hurting people hurt people? Have you heard that before? Do you want to know how to not become someone that hurts somebody? Because you wouldn't hurt somebody, right? You will if you keep anger in your life. Because if you keep anger, things will those emotions will take control, and someday you will be the hurting person that is hurting other people because you have let anger stay in your life, and it will continue to steal your joy. It will steal your peace. It will hurt your closest friendships. People that you love, you will hurt if you keep anger in your life. And we do this all the time if we're not careful. So, there's good news. You don't have to spew and you don't have to stew. There is another way to deal with this. This whole series, Emoticontrol, okay, it's about controlling your emotions. It's about getting some of these things. We're going to talk about all different kinds. This is probably the least favorite one, but maybe one of the most important. We need to learn to control this emotion called anger and deal with it. So I want to help you guys do that. And we're going to look at one passage in the Bible. It's in Ephesians chapter 4. If you have your own Bible, you can turn to it. If not, it's going to be up here, of course. And so we're going to look at Ephesians chapter 4. It's written by a guy named Paul. He's writing to a church, and he's really giving us this great advice on this thing that we all deal with, and that is anger. And he says this. He starts like this, Ephesians 4:26. In your anger, which I just wanted to pause. I know I didn't go very far. But he assumes you're going to get mad. He assumes anger. Okay, here's the deal. All of us are going to have anger because all of us are going to have somebody do wrong to us. Someone is going to be inconsiderate. Someone is going to say something they shouldn't. You're not going to get what you deserve. You're not going to get what you want. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to get angry, okay? And there's going to be anger. In your anger, he says, it's going to happen, okay? And by the way, having anger is not a sin, okay? You need to understand that because keep it going. He says, in your anger, Do not sin. And here's where it starts to become a problem. Because in anger, we often sin. It's amazing how quickly it can happen too. Like with just the thoughts begin. Maybe you just think the sin, like you don't actually do it. Like, okay, so one time I was going to bed. I have a lot of issues when I go to bed. And I was trying to sleep, and my neighbor had gone on vacation and left his dog in the backyard. It's like a dog like this big, okay? By the end of the night, I was ready to punt it. But anyways, this little dog, and I was trying to sleep about 11 o'clock, starts going, yeah, it's like that over and over. I'm really good at that. I didn't even know until just now. All right, and so just barking, and I'm like, ugh. And about an hour later, I'm starting to get really angry, okay? And then it was about 2 hours later, and it's still barking. It's now 1 o'clock in the morning. I cannot sleep because every time I start to go to sleep, it barks again, and I start having all these thoughts. At first, they were not that bad. They were like, I wonder if you put Benadryl in cheese, like if it would eat it, and then it'd like fall asleep. I'm like literally Googling, will Benadryl kill a dog? But after a little while, I'm like, I don't really care if it kills. I started thinking like, what if I opened the gate? And the dog just ran away. No one would ever know it was me. I was like, no, I shouldn't do that. I was like, I could shoot it with a paintball gun. And I was like, no, they'll see the paint. And then I literally was like, I could get a slingshot with ice, and the ice would melt, and no one would ever see any evidence. Okay, these are going through my head, okay? And by about 3 hours in, I was really thinking like, do I have any rat poison? Like, I am done with this. Okay, now good news, I did not harm the dog in any way. Okay, I finally just made it to sleep somehow. And I did not harm the dog. But here's what's amazing. Just in a couple hours, I started getting like, I want to do something. Now, here's the deal. Some of us have been holding on to anger, not for a few hours, but for days, weeks, months, some of us even years. We've been holding on to some anger with somebody. And so he goes on, he says, in your anger, do not sin. Don't let it turn to sin. But here's another option. He says, do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. What does that mean? It means that when you have anger, you need to deal with it right away. You don't wait till someday. He says, on this day, you deal with it. The day that you're on, you need to deal with the anger. Otherwise, it can begin to cause problems. It can lead to sin. It can lead to all kinds of things. He says, don't let it go down while you're angry. I mean, not literally like, oh no, the sun's hitting the horizon. Okay, no, but it's like you need to deal with it now, not someday. You see, there is a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There is no someday, okay? That there is a now, today, okay? And you need to do on the day. He says you need to deal with it. Why? He keeps going, and he says this, and do not give the devil a foothold. You know what a foothold is? Does anybody like to climb trees? Or maybe when you were a kid, like you still climb trees, okay? When I was a kid, I loved to climb trees, which is weird because I'm kind of afraid of heights now. But when I was a kid, I was not. And here's the deal, like I would climb any tree that I could, but some trees are very difficult to climb because they have no low branches. And it's very difficult to get up into a tree with no low branches. Some of them have like branches down low and you just had a foothold. You put your foot there and boom, you're going up the tree. And this is what it's saying, that if you keep anger and you don't deal with it, you give the devil a foothold. In other words, an easy opportunity to come wreak havoc in your life. And anger, if you let it, he will use that to cause destruction in your life. He'll destroy a relationship. He'll have you say something that will destroy a friendship. It is amazing how often anger drives somebody back to an addiction that they were trying to get free of. In a time when this anger stays in their life, all of a sudden they go back to a substance or back to pornography or back to something that they were trying to break free of, and anger is the foothold that the devil uses to get them right back in it. So he says you got to get rid of it. Didn't really give you much advice on how to do it. He keeps going. Just a couple verses later, he comes back into this idea, and he says this. He says, get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, brawling, and slander, along with every form of malice. Now, bitterness, I don't know if you've ever met a bitter person. They are never happy. I've never met a happy, bitter person. I mean, they may have moments, but they're not generally happy. They're not rage. Anybody like to be around a person that's full of rage? No? Okay. Anger? That's not good. Okay, when you brawling, okay, I think that's literally talking about, okay, fine. Anytime that there's brawling, okay, there is some anger issues that have been let to stay. Slander, say, well, we know what people that are angry do? They slander other people. This is what the stewards tend to do, okay? The exploders will yell at your face, okay? The stewards go behind your back, go, can you believe it? Okay, and all that kind of stuff. So they're the slanderers, along with every form of malice. Do you know what malice is? Malice is when you want evil to happen to a person. Okay, if there is someone in your life, this is going to be hard, if something bad happened to them that would make you happy, you have malice, okay? And this is true. I think all of us are here at some point, and you're like, oh, if they fell on their face, that would make me so happy, okay? If they got dumped, okay? If their car crashed, okay? I'd be like, oh, you'd be like, oh, poor them, okay? And I understand. You know what that is? He says that's malice, and it's something that this is what he says. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. But Paul, okay, the guy who wrote it, Paul, you don't know what they did to me. You don't understand. If you knew, let me tell you what they said. Let me tell you what they did. And once you do, you'll understand why I get to have this. And this is what he would say back. No. This stuff is stealing this from you. This stuff is stealing the joy that God has for you, the plan of God that has for you. He's going to steal relationships from you. It's not just going to hurt that. It's going to hurt other future relationships you have. If you hold on to this, it's going to steal so much from you. And so you need to get rid of it. Now, again, he hadn't really given us any advice. I mean, like if you came in for counseling and you're like, I got to get rid of my anger. Yeah, get rid of it. Okay, I will. Okay, what do I do? Okay, how do I do it? So the next verse is the key. It's the last one we're going to look at, okay? And this is what he says. Be kind and compassionate. Wait. I am not being kind to them, okay? If they had compassion on me, we wouldn't even be in this situation, okay? It keeps going. To one another. And here it is. Forgiving each other, just as in Christ, God forgave you. This is what he says. You want to get over your anger, you have to forgive each other. Forgiveness is the key to getting rid of anger and bitterness and malice and rage and all of those things, to getting rid of the stuff in your heart that's going to steal your joy. Now, I like to think of anger like this. One time I went on vacation, and me and my wife, and we came back, and I remember I opened the garage, we had this great vacation, opened the door to my house, and it hit me in the face. The smell. It was so bad. I wanted to throw up. Tracy's smiling because she remembers this moment. What had happened is before we went on vacation, we had some chicken and we threw it away. It was some raw chicken that we threw away in a trash can, and we forgot to take the bag out. Well, I don't know if you know this, but raw chicken rots and then it smells like death, okay? Like death had diarrhea is what it smelled like, okay? And it was bad, and my house smelled so bad. And I remember Ken was like, oh, what is happening? Okay, now here's the deal. I immediately got the trash bag and took it out of the house. Then we lit some candles and opened some doors and all that. Now, if all I did was light some candles and open some doors, you know what's going to happen? It's going to stink with a little bit of vanilla, all right? That's what it's going to be, okay? It's still going to stink until I get the trash bag and take it outside. That's what's going to happen. And here's the trash bag, getting that out, that's what forgiveness does. Until you forgive, you are leaving the nasty in your heart that is going to continue to cause you problems. It's going to continue to hurt you, and and I know we feel like, but I can't let them off. If I forgive them, I'm letting them off, okay? And by not forgiving them, I'm getting back at them. That's kind of like this. Seems like an appropriate time for this one, okay? What is this? You know what this one is? Yeah, now they call it the poop emoji. I actually read the history of the poop emoji today, because that's what I do at work. And this is actually originally supposed to be chocolate soft serve, which it actually kind of looks more like than the, anyways. But, so it's supposed to be chocolate ice cream, but now we call it the poop emoji. But, so if you have a dog or cat, okay, and they go in your room, and they leave a big pile of poop, okay, on the floor, and it stinks, and you look at that and you go, I'm so mad at my dog. I'm going to get back at him. I'm going to just leave it right there and show him. Now, as you go in your room all the time, you go, oh, it stinks in here. And you forgot in the middle of the night and you stepped on it and you got poop foot, okay? And all this kind of stuff. And you go, but I'm getting back at my dog. And your dog's like, I don't care. There's a snack later or something, okay? Like your dog, it depends on your dog. I've seen some gross dogs, okay? And here's the thing. You're trying to get back at your dog. And you know what? It's not hurting your dog. Who's it hurting? You. And the same is true with when we don't forgive people. One person said it like this: not forgiving is like drinking poison trying to hurt somebody else. The only person that gets hurt is you. And as we continue to hold on to things that somebody did, the person that we hurt is ourselves. And what you need to understand about this is, see, anger is an emotion. Anger is an emotion that you have. It's a feeling that you have, but forgiveness is a decision. Forgiveness isn't an emotion that you feel. It is a decision. It is something that you do. Anger is a what? Emotion. Forgiveness is a what? Decision. It is a decision that you make, and it is a decision that sets you free from the pain and the bitterness and all that, and brings you back to a place of joy. It is a decision. So I want to give you a different way of looking at it, and a way that you can actually let go of some stuff. So let me tell you something else about anger. Anger says this. Anger says, you owe me. You owe me. In fact, we have this thing, we say this, okay? You've probably heard someone say it, or you've said it. You owe me an apology. Have you ever said that? Heard somebody say that? Yeah, you owe me. The idea is there is something that you've done, and now you owe me something. Maybe it's you feel like somebody owes you a friendship because they were your best friend and then they betrayed you and now that relationship is broken and you say, you owe me a friendship. You owe me some money back. I loaned it to you. You owe it to me, okay? You owe it to me. You owe me something. Okay, maybe a parent left your house, and now you feel like they owe you a relationship with their mom or a relationship with your dad. Maybe you were abused by somebody in your house, and you feel like they owe you a childhood where you could go home and be happy. I remember when I was in fifth grade, there was a kid and he pushed me down and he beat me up at school. And I remember just the feeling of just being mad. And like he owes me just being able to walk across campus without feeling like I'm going to get, attacked, okay? And you get this feeling of they owe you. Anger says, you owe me. Now this is what forgiveness does. Forgiveness cancels the debt. Forgiveness cancels what is owed. It's an internal decision that I am not holding. So, you didn't make it right, but I'm not holding it against you anymore. You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have gone there. You shouldn't have done that, but I'm canceling the debt. Maybe it looks something like this. If Robin was to come to me and say, can I borrow $5? I really need $5 because I don't have any money. And she's like, yeah, I'll borrow $5. Okay. And then she's like, but I'll pay you back tomorrow. Okay. Don't worry. Next week. I'll pay back next Wednesday. And I'm like, okay. Next Wednesday, I'm like, hey, do you have my $5? She's like, she's already putting it in her phone. She's like, I'm sliding this. Okay. I forgot. I'll bring it next week. I promise I'll bring it next week. And then I come back next week. Hey, did you have it? It's like, oh, I'm so broke right now. I don't have any money. And I look over and in her left hand is a huge grande Starbucks that she just bought for at least $5. And I'm like, okay. And then she starts, did you see that? I went to the movies yesterday. It was amazing. I'm like, that was $12. I'm like, she's got all this. I don't have any money. And here's what begins to happen. You can start to, now if you're an exploder, right, the spewer, you're like, what do you mean you don't have any money? Look at that in your hand. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm not really an exploder. I don't know how to do it. But you'd probably be real good at it. But if you're like me, you're the steward, this is what you do. You walk away and you're like, you have $12 and you just spent on that. And I can't believe it. And you go tell other people, it's like, can you be it? I loaned her money. And she spent it on everything else, but she won't give it to me. And I'm laying down at night and I'm telling you off good, okay? and here's what it is. Now she literally owes me, right? $5. Forgiveness does this. She doesn't owe me $5 anymore. Now if she brought it back to me, great. That's amazing. But it doesn't matter. Because internally, it doesn't necessarily mean I've gone to her and said, I forgive you of your $5. No, but internally, I've decided I've canceled that debt. Now that's really easy to talk about when I'm talking about $5. If we're talking about somebody that hurt you, somebody that physically abused you, somebody that said something they shouldn't have, it's a lot more difficult. But I do want to point something else out too. Sometimes people owe you something that they can't repay. I mean, come on. If your dad left and never came back, he can't give you back your childhood, right? If somebody abused you, they can't give that back. If you got hurt in some way, that can never be given back. The way to be free is to forgive. And until you do, that hurt gets to keep hurting you. And that's why this is so important. This is why your Heavenly Father put this in the Bible, so that you can be free and you can have joy again. See, forgiveness breaks the power of anger. And it has power over you. Anger does, until you forgive. And I know some of us have some difficult things that we need to forgive. But forgiveness breaks the power of anger. I wanted to read you a story about somebody who forgave. And it's a pretty powerful story. And it's a little bit long, but I think that you'll enjoy it. And I just want it to speak to you on how that even you, no matter what you've gone through, can forgive. A young college girl, they're calling her Molly in this story to protect her name, but Molly was driving home from school for a weekend break when her car died. Darkness had already fallen and a gas station was nowhere in sight, so she had no alternative but to stand on the side of the road trying to flag down help from an anonymous passerby. She started to grab her cell phone to let her parents know she'd be a little late, but not wanting to worry them, Molly thought she would wait and call them after she had things figured out. Finally, a pickup truck stopped, and two friendly men invited her to jump inside. They seemed more than happy to drive Molly to the nearest gas station so she could get some help. The truck sped away, pointing towards the lights in the next distant town. That's where our story turned sour. They never made it to town. Minutes Inside the truck, their mood seemed to change. They pulled off the main interstate, headlights now beaming down a deserted road. The young woman felt her stomach go into a knot. "Where are we going?" Molly spoke as her voice began to quiver. No real answer came from the front seat, only a sick kind of laughter. "You'll see," muttered one of them. The details of the story are too horrifying to share. In short, the nightmare every woman prays to elude happened on that night. The two guys forced the young college student from their truck, and each man raped her brutally. Laughing with twisted glee after they finished their actions, they piled back into the truck and left the victim stranded and bleeding. No doubt, they were sure that she would bleed to death that night, lost in the dark, wooded area, never to share her story with anyone else. But the college girl knew what she had to do. She realized that if she stayed in the wooded area, it would seal her death sentence. So with agonizing effort, Molly crawled back towards the main road to summon help. 2 hours later, she made it back to the highway. She laid there, lifting her body to wave to anyone who would come. She knew someone would eventually stop. Finally, headlights slowed down. Blurry in sight, Molly couldn't see the vehicle. She just knew her only ticket to survival was there. Someone picked her up. Then a voice she had heard before said, "Guess she's stronger than we thought. Let's take her back to the woods and finish her off. We don't want her talking to anyone about our little visit tonight, do we?" The truck gunned its engine and raced off again. An unimaginable horror began to unfold. In sickening irony, the same two men who had spotted Molly's lifeless body along the side of the road, it was the same two men. So now they were not only demented, but determined and angry. They wanted to make sure she never saw another sunrise. Once again, they abused her, and by the time their truck sped away the second time, Molly had passed out. Hours passed. Her parents called the police, and the state troopers found her deserted car by the side of the highway. Around 4 a.m., they finally found Molly's body, unconscious and narrowly clinging to life. 3 days later, she opened her eyes in the hospital, and she heard a doctor speaking in hushed tones in the corner room. "Molly's going to need counseling," they explained. "She survived the trauma of the rapes physically, but it will take years for her to recover from the emotional trauma the men did to her. I'll send a psychologist to help her soon." 4 days later, the counselor sensitively entered the intensive care room where Molly was slowly recovering. The doctor struggled for words. She had heard of the brutality of the crime and knew it would be a long road. "They've caught the two men who did this to you," she whispered. "I know you must hate them. Anyone would. And are you ready to talk about it?" She was struggling to speak, but she said, "They've caught the guys who raped me?" "Yes," the doctor answered back firmly, "and they'll get jail time they deserve. But for your emotional healing, I'd like to help you with your feelings towards those monsters. I know it sounds crazy, but I promise you that for your own well-being, left unchecked, the bitterness and resentment will eat you alive inside." Molly reached out to the struggling doctor and said, "You don't have to explain." "Pardon me?" the nervous doctor replied. I'm a Christian," she replied slowly. "I know the power of forgiveness." Molly continued to speak, and she said, "You see, I let those men rob me of one night of my life. I don't intend to give them another." And Molly chose to forgive them that night. Now, I love this line. I don't intend to give them another. If somebody's hurt you, don't give them another night. Don't give it another day. You've got to let go of the anger. I have seen firsthand the destruction of this in people's life. Holy Father wants you to be this. So let's get free. Listen, forgiving somebody doesn't mean what they did was right. Forgiving somebody doesn't mean it didn't hurt. Forgiving somebody doesn't mean it wasn't wrong. Forgiving them means you're ready to be free. So if you came in and you're dealing with anger, let's break its power over you. Let's be free. Let's have joy. And let the Holy Spirit do a work in you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pray. When I say amen, we're going to stand. And if you need prayer, maybe you've got some anger, some bitterness, something. And listen, we all struggle with this from time to time. I want to encourage you to let somebody pray with you. And if you need prayer for anything else that's going on in your life, we'd love to pray with you for that as well. There'll be people in the back of the room to pray with you in just a moment. Father, I thank you that you love us. Pray you would help us be free. Pray for anyone that's struggling because somebody hurt them, somebody did something inconsiderate or whatever it was, Lord, that just brought pain. And so, God, I just pray that you would set them free. Help them to forgive. Let anger have no power over them. In Jesus' name, amen.